Have you seen those really cool light up cake toppers or signs and you've always wondered how in the world do people make them? Today I'm going to show you how to make something similar to what you've seen. This right here ended up turning out so stinking cool. I've been making cake toppers and signs just like these for years now. While they look complicated, they are not. And I'm going to show you how we are going to make up a either light up cake topper or sign. I'm going to show you how we can customize an SVG file two different ways to create what you want to create. But this thing right here is fabulous. It's one of my favorite things to make. Adding a little bit of extra. Having a laser machine is amazing. You get to have really cool cuts with really cool material, but then to add in some lights just takes this cake topper, which is already amazing, to the next level. And that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna show you how to make this. Before we get into the design work, I want to go over some of the supplies that you're going to need because it's actually really important. Obviously, with this particular sign, it doesn't matter if you're making a sign or a cake topper with me today, you are going to need acrylic, white, black, and yellow. I personally am going to be using my xTool P2S because the crispy, clean acrylic cuts that we get on the P2S is phenomenal for a project like this. Now, the light situation, depending on what size you are making, if you are making a cake topper just like this, what you need to do is pick up one of these like LED lights. This is what you're going to have. It's just a little piece of battery operated something or another with a string of lights. If you are making a larger sign, which is what I'm going to be making today, I have this right here. It's a LED strip light with like 3M adhesive on the back of it. This is what I am using today. The reason why we are not going to use this for both things, if you were wanting to make that, is look at the charging cable. This is not battery operated. It is a beast. This right here has some 3M tape on the back. I know I did mention that, but just know this right here does not, but the prep is essentially the same. You are going to need a little bit of extra glue for this, but now let's get into the glue. Because most people, if you follow other people that use a laser cutter and also glues things together, most people use a product or glue called 3M tape, and it's like sheets of tape that they put on the backs of their acrylic that makes them glue together, and there's no dry time. It essentially is just a sticky sticker that they put on acrylic and they can sandwich it together. The reason why I don't use it, I have tried using it and I don't prefer that method, is once you cut it, first, it's kind of a pain in the butt to cut, but it's a little bit more finicky. You have to adjust your settings. The second thing that happens is when you cut your acrylic, when you cut that 3M tape, the 3M tape is on the very edge of whatever it is that you cut. Over time, what happens is if this is a sign that you're going to have for a really long time, which is what I have here, you're gonna see this one was made with 3M tape. You're gonna see that like dust starts to collect in places around your cuts, leaving you not a good finished product. So what I use is I use some silicone-based glue. Now, unfortunately, this glue, which is my most favorite glue, has been sold out for over a year. I've talked to the owner of this company and I'm not entirely sure when they're going to be coming back with this glue, but this glue is my most favorite glue. So if you ever see this in stock, pick it up. But what I want you to do is since this right now is sold out, pick yourself up some clear silicone glue. Now, the only downside to this glue is that the nozzle or the thing, the glue, the head, the glue applicator, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty thick. Like the nozzle, the hole for this is really thick. So what it started coming out. So what I always do is I just rebottle it into a smaller bottle that has a thinner head like that. Just so, I don't know if you're gonna see it, but it's definitely the hole size for this and this is two very different hole sizes. This one's a lot smaller and more manageable. So we can glue small little letters like this without any issues. All right, now that we're done with the supplies, because that's really all you need to create this really cool either cake topper or sign, I am going to show it to you both ways. Let's get to the design process. All right, if you are new to xTool Creative Space, you can design with one actually not even owning an xTool. So if you want to create this sign with me, but don't have an xTool, you have a different laser, that's fine. You can design it with me inside xTool Creative Space because it's free, and also export the SVG file because it's free as well. That being said, I like to do all of my design work without the machine being on. So I'm going to keep my xTool off. But now what you need to do is go over to my cardstock warehouse and download the SVG file. I did most of the design work already for you. All we have to do is do a couple little customizations to either make it a sign or a cake topper. Okay, once you have the SVG file downloaded, what you want to do is open up the SVG file and just drag and drop it into xTool Creative Space. Okay, so here's the deal. I have actually already created this sign or cake topper with the words, "May the 4th be with you." However, if you don't want to use the same wording, but you want to change it, what you can do is download the Star Wars font yourself and then do additional edits if you wanted to. What I want you to do is head over to dafont.com and look for the Star Jedi font. Now, if you wanted to add in your own type of wording, all you need to do is press this T on the text box and click anywhere on the software. Add in the letter that you need and then come over here into this Lato. Once you do that, you want to look for the new font that you just downloaded. I'm going to keep it simple and just use what I have in my SVG file, okay? Now what we want to do is right-click this and press Ungroup. Now this right here is going to be our front portion right here. That's going to get cut out in black. This right here is going to be our next layer, and this is going to be cut out on yellow. I'm just going to put it in the middle just so we know exactly what it's used for. This portion right here, although is colored in black, it is going to be cut out in white. So I am just going to right click this and I'm going to change it over to a different color just so we can see what we're doing for right now. Now, before we choose which avenue we want to go through, either making a cake topper or making a sign, what we have to do is resize the sign or cake topper to the size that you need. If you're creating the same exact cake topper as me, you shouldn't have to resize it because it should be 6 inches wide. But if you wanted to make a larger sign, what you need to do is selecting everything, making sure that this right here is locked. And I think I'm gonna do a 12-inch sign, okay? So let's move this over to the right just a little bit, okay? If you wanted to make a cake topper, this is what you're gonna need to do, okay? You're going to come over here into this rectangle and you're gonna click the rectangle. Do you see how now I have like this little hairline, like aiming tool? Now what you wanna do is just create any size rectangle at this point, okay? Let's keep this to 6 inches just so you can see exactly how it'll look. Now with this rectangle that we just created, this is going to be your stick, okay? I personally love having my sticks. I'm gonna unlock this right here. I personally love having my sticks at a 0.2 wide stick. Then what you're going to do is you're just going to resize the length to whatever length you need. I personally don't think that there is a standard size length of stick, so just create it any size length that you want. I'm gonna go 3 inches. Then what you want to do is make sure the very top of your stick. So let's zoom in. See how this rectangle needs to be kind of overlapping that rectangle just a little bit. Let's right click this and change this to a different color. And I will change it over to engrave just so you can see. Do you see how this rectangle is overlapping this purple rectangle just a little bit? When you have it the way that you want, what you want to do is selecting those two pieces, the rectangle and also, I guess, the purple rectangle and also the red rectangle. You're going to come up here and you're going to press this Unite button. Now, essentially, the design process for that is done. However, there is one additional customization that I'm going to need you to do for either sign. We'll get into that after we fix the sign, okay? So if we were wanting to make a sign, okay, you need somewhere to hang this. Now, you could, if you wanted to, you could just add in like your own hanger pieces and stuff like that to the back. That would require like a drill and additional like hanger pieces, metal pieces and stuff like that. And that's kind of like a pain in the butt when I'm all about not having pain in the butt projects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the hanger into my sign, okay? So we're just going to drag this over to the right just a little bit. Now for this, what I'm going to do is instead of creating a rectangle, I'm going to create a circle. And I'm just going to draw a circle. It doesn't even need to look like a circle at this point. You just want to put one on your screen. Now for my circle that I have here, I prefer, and because this is an oblong, it's not an actual circle, I want to make sure that I'm in the unlocked ratio. And I'm going to change this over to the size of 0.5. And I'm going to put them in the corner. Remember, we're going to overlap them just a little. Okay, now we need 2 of them, okay? So we're gonna click our circle and we're gonna copy and paste, Command C, Command V. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag this all the way over to the other side. Okay, now what we want to do is, because we're gonna go on the inside of our circle, what I want you to do now is just change this over to either score or cut. That way we can actually see inside the shape, okay? Then what I want you to do is come over here into offset. Now this is your automatic screen that pops up here, and I want you to go on the inside, so I want you to do the inner, and I want you to uncheck the external. Now you're going to see this additional circle that's coming into play right here. That's perfect. That is going to give us that inside circle. Now you can change the size of your circle if you need. You can see that mine has gotten a little smaller. When you have that done, what you want to do is press confirm. Now when you have that done, what happens is like those little circles automatically get united into or welded together. What you need to do is hover over your circles until they light up a different color. So we're going to click on that, and let's just release the compounds. That means that these right here are 2 individual pieces, okay? Now what I want you to do is selecting both the circles on the left-hand side, and I want you to press subtract. And then I want you to take your rectangle that you have right here and press unite. So see how we have like a little rectangle, like the corner of a rectangle is inside our circle? I like that. Doing the same thing that we do over on the left, we want to do on the right. So selecting both of our circles, we're going to press subtract, and we're going to click on our rectangle and press unite. Now essentially the design process for this sign is finished. However, there's one key importance that we need to do if you are creating an LED sign. Now you technically could create this sign or cake topper without ever using lights. If you never wanted to use lights, you don't have to create these standoffs, but I am using lights. The reason why you want to create some sort of standoff is there is going to be some elevation between this and your second layer of acrylic. If you don't create a standoff, what happens is you're not going to have anything to glue the top layer onto the back layer. Now, the amount of layers that you need for your standoffs is kind of like if you've ever made a shaker cake topper inside the cardstock realm. The more layers of foam or the more layers of standoffs that you have, the thicker or like the thicker the layers are going to be. I personally am going to do 2, okay? So let's just create some circles, or just one. You can just do 1 circle. Now, obviously, the size circle that you use is going to be dependent on whatever size finished product you want. So for this one, I'm going to change it over to blue just so I can show you. This particular circle is 1 inch, essentially 1 inch, right? This is a really big circle for this particular sign. However, it is not for over here. I'm going to keep it at 1 inch just because I am creating a larger sign. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this circle, okay? There's going to be 2. And I am going to create 4 of these, 1 for each corner. You could also do 5 and put it in the middle if you're creating a larger sign. I don't think you actually need it, but you could do the 5. If you're doing the cake topper, I would also do 4 just for 1 in each corner. All right, that's it. That's all you need to do in order to make your own light up LED cake topper or sign, okay? I'm going to delete what I don't need. And if you don't have an xTool laser cutter, you could save this and export it as an SVG file. All you need to do is come over here into the X you can go over here into File and then Export as SVG. And then you're ready to go and cut this wherever you need to. I, in fact, have an xTool, so I am going to turn on my xTool P2S and also grab the acrylic that I need. If you don't have an xTool P2S, I just want you to know that I love it because it has a camera inside the actual bed. There's one right here and there's a few more in here. So I can take and place multiple pieces of colored acrylic and cut them all at the same time. I'm going to put my yellow and my black in here, and then we're just going to close the lid. Now over on my software, what I need to do is first connect to my P2S. Okay, it's going to auto refresh the very first time that you turn it on. And to make some really good crispy cuts, what I always do is do an aimed measure on my material. Now I think I'm going to have to make my sign just a little bit smaller because that black acrylic that I'm going to use is just a little bit smaller than I wanted it to be. Okay, then what I'm going to do is take my yellow and place it down in here. Now essentially what we need to do is set up our cutting parameters. I need to select everything and I need to come over here and press cut because I am cutting this all out. Okay. Now what I need to do is select the material that I'm going to be using. So up here at the very top, it's technically set to unknown material. I'm going to click it and click 3mm black. It doesn't really matter about the color. I don't know why they have it always listed as separate. I find that every single acrylic color, as long as the depth of it is all the same, it all has the same setting. So just press confirm. Acrylic is actually pretty flammable, so you want to make sure and have your eyes on the machine when you're cutting. And then what I'm going to do is press process. For this particular portion, it is going to take my xTool P2S 10 minutes to cut out, so I'm just going to press start. This little button is going to be blue. You just want to press it, and then your machine is going to start cutting. All right, first sign's done, so we're just going to open this up and we're going to take out our sign. If you have your settings correctly, everything should just pop right out and not have any issues. All right, looks like I'm only going to need one final cut and then we will be done. When you're done cutting your acrylic, meet me back to the craft table and we will assemble this together. Okay, so everything that you shall be left with is a sheet of white, some circles, all of your yellow pieces, and then your black. What I want you to do first is I'm going to take a weeding tool pick. This thing right here is my favorite little gadget. And you are just going to peel off the backing of your top layer of your white acrylic. Now what you need to do is peel off all of the masking tape off of the clear circle pieces. Okay, if you don't already have your glue filled up into your bottle, fill it up now. Remember, we have two different layers for these circles. So I am just going to add some glue to one circle. It's going to be hard to see, but there is a clear circle right here with clear glue. And I'm going to put it in the top corner. You're going to want to leave room for your light to be able to go to the very edge, okay? Okay, when you have all of your circles glued down, depending on how many of these layers you want to glue your second layer of your circles to the top layer. Now for the lights, you want to make sure that because we're using the silicone glue does take 24 hours to dry, which that is the downfall of using this sort of glue, is that it does take a long time to dry. However, I, again, prefer it over any other glue that's on the market. With your LED lights, you want to be careful, but you want to determine where you want your sign plug-in to end. So do you want it in the middle? Do you want it at the end? Determine where you want it. Now this one, remember, has like a 3M adhesive on the back, so we're going to peel this off. Once you start, this right here is sticky, and again, you want to start wherever you want your sign to end, the light to end. So I'm going to go over here into the bottom left corner. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this LED light does not have any type of 3M tape to it. So what I would do is you could use super glue to make it like glue easier. The problem with using super glue on acrylic is that it blooms or creates this like cloudy like a finish after it's done being glued. I would not suggest doing it for the very front, but I would do it for in between because you're never going to see it. Or you can use this glue. I use this glue to glue it down. Just know that it will take a little bit longer to glue. Again, 24 hours. The super glue, it will be instantaneous. It just won't leave off a good effect. But if you're never going to see it, then it really doesn't matter, right? Okay, and then all you need to do once you're obviously around your entire perimeter is you just want to keep taking your lights until you run out all the way around the backer, white backer. Now that that's done, it's going to be so bright. The added white layer to this definitely helps because it does bounce off a little bit higher. I can't see anything, but anyway, set this over to the side. Make sure that your circles are perfectly centered onto their circles, and we're going to set this over to the side, allowing that to dry, because now what we're going to do is we are going to work on the front portion of the side. All right, we are going to peel off the masking tape off of both the front and the back. I use this as a tool to kind of figure out where I'm supposed to be putting everything. And this, what I want you to do is only peel off the back. Now I'm going to leave the smaller ones off to the side for right now, but when you have essentially what you think looks good. I think this is nice and centered and looks fabulous. Now what you want to do is just carefully glue down each piece. So we got the front of the sign glued down. What I'm going to do is not pull the masking tape off of this or off the back of this because I'm not done yet. But what I do want to do is put some glue on my circles. Now that we have that glued down, what you can do now is take your sign and you can layer this on top of your circles, making sure that it's nice and center on your entire rectangle. So we are going to let this dry. And then once it's done drying, you can peel off all the masking tape and hang up your sign. And you're going to have a really cool light up LED acrylic laser cut sign, all made with just a couple pieces of acrylic in your craft room.